Hello everyone, welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Bajirao IAS Academy. Today we have a set of important news articles for both prelims and mains exam perspectives, right? So first we look at the mains important and mains relevant news article. The first news article is optimistic space policy lays out plans to privatize sector. The government of India has been looking to privatize the space sector so that in order to realize the greater potential of the space sector, the government has recently framed and released the national space policy, right? So the space policy has several provisions in order to tap the potential of international space market and also further improve the capabilities of the private space sector in India. And the next important news article is talks on consensus against war in Ukraine, trade ties likely during Modi's visit to France. See, in July, Prime Minister Narendra Modi likely to visit France. So, therefore, in this context, India and France defense trade ties will be discussed along with Ukraine crisis, right? So, this article specifically talks about India France relationship and how India can play a larger role in resolving the Ukraine crisis. And the next important news article is to cut at root of narcotics. Center plans drive against poppy and cannabis. Poppy and cannabis are drugs, right? So, in order to counter the drug menace, drug trafficking in India, the center has used several policies and also framed a legislation, a comprehensive legislation. So along with these policies and legislations, the center has coming up with various guidelines and directions to various state governments. So in this context, we will also understand the problem of drugs and drug trafficking menace in India. Along with the mains important articles, we have a set of prelims relevant articles also. The first article is about the reviving a dead river, a cultural event to celebrate legacy of Yamuna River. This is about the Yamuna River and how a cultural event trying to revive the dead Yamuna River. Okay, so the next important news article is the night of Booth Kola. uh, we everyone know what is Bhutakola, especially after the Kantara movie. So there is a possibility that UPSC may ask a question on Bhutakola. So therefore, it is important to know about Bhutakola and its resemblance or differences with Theyyam, traditional Theyyam dance in Kerala. And the next important news article is Hakki Pikki tribe, so caught in Sudan civil war. Hakki Pikki tribe is also very important for prelims examination point of view. UPSC may ask about this tribe because this tribe belonged to the state of Karnataka, migrated to Sudan. Now they caught in a conflict in Sudan. So in this context, we will discuss all these important and relevant news articles in this session. Okay, so first important and most relevant news article for mains exam point of view. This is particularly relevant in paper 3 of general studies. Okay, so please pay attention to this article. This article is very important. National space policy. The government has come up with a comprehensive space policy. Government has been trying to increase the space for the private sector uh, in space related activities so that ISRO can focus more on manned missions, setting up space station, international space station, interplanetary missions, that further improves ISRO's capability with respect to capability and competitiveness with respect to other international space agencies. So, in this context, we try and understand what this space policy is particularly about and how it will be a game changer in overall India's space sector. Okay, first understand center recently come up with an updated space policy, and this updated space policy was already cleared by Union Cabinet on April 6. Okay, so because it has drawn optimism, applause from the private sector also, especially the budding private sector startup space. They have uh, welcomed this updated space policy because it provides a larger space for these new startups in the space sector. Okay, so overall, this policy is known as Indian Space Policy 2023. Okay, see, this space policy has created four distinct entities. In this article or in this session, we will analyze what are those four distinct space entities or what are four distinct entities and how those four entities will facilitate greater private sector participation in India's space sector, because uh, traditionally space is a domain of the Indian Space Research Organization. There has been a very limited or minute private sector participation in India's space related activities in comparison to countries like USA. Now, SpaceX, this is a US based space agency, private space agency. Now, uh, it has been made a major leapfrogs into the space related activities, even competing with the government space agencies. So therefore, with the vision to develop the private space sector participation in India's space, the government has framed Indian Space Policy 2023. So before actually discussing these four distinct entities as per the policy, first we have to look into the objectives of Indian Space Policy 2023. So, what are the major objectives of this policy? The major objectives include first, augmentation of existing space capabilities. Whatever capabilities we have, we will augment those capabilities. And the second major objective is enabling, developing, and encouraging flourishing commercial presence in space. In India, there is a very minimal commercial or private participation. So, therefore, this policy envisions a flourishing commercial presence in Indian space sector, so that uh, the entire international space market would look towards India for its launch of various satellites. And third important objective of Indian space policy is use space as a driver of technology in India and derive benefits from its allied areas. So they from the space sector there are many benefits. For example, social sector benefits include e-education, telemedicine, tele-education, rural planning, weather forecasting are all the applications of space-based activities. So therefore, the objective of Indian Space Policy 2023 also includes deriving benefits from the allied areas. And along with those objectives, the other objective is pursue international relations. Nowadays, many international countries are looking towards ISRO for its to launch their respective satellites. Traditionally, ISRO is known as a less expensive satellite launching agency. So therefore, it is a very helpful in pursuing international relations and also helpful in creating ecosystem for effective implementation of space applications along with all other stakeholders who are part of this space ecosystem. Okay, so we understood the objective of Indian Space Policy 2023. First, we have discussed that there are four major entities or four major distinct entities created by the Indian Space Policy 2023. First, we try and understand what are those four major entities which are actually created by the Space Policy 2023. See, the first major space entity is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. See, please remember these agencies or these entities are important for prelims and mains perspective also. So please pay attention to this. So Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. So this will be a single window clearance and authorization agency for space launches, establishing launch pads, buying or selling satellites, disseminating high resolution data, among other things. So these are all the activities which are undertaken by the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. This is part of the Indian Space Policy 2023. However, along with the above mentioned functions and the responsibility of Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, it will also develop space industry standards, promote identified space activities, and it will also work with academia to widen the space ecosystem and also enable industry academia linkages. So primarily it facilitates research and development in the space sector. Okay, it is not merely a regulatory body, rather a facilitation agency that facilitates the industry academia linkages, research and development, space, and also develop the space industry standards for the private sector or for the government entities, and it will also promote identified space activities and also work in collaboration with the academia. Okay, so this is the first entity created under the policy, and the second entity which is part of the policy is Indian Space Research Organization. Okay, so what are the roles and responsibilities of ISRO under this new policy? The ISRO will largely focus on research into outer space. Okay, not just launching satellites into the orbit or into the space, but ISRO will focus on the missions like Gaganyaan, Aditya L1 mission, Shukrayan mission, and also setting up International Space Station interplanetary missions. So ISRO will largely focus on outer space, research into the outer space. So this effectively means that new space technologies and applications that will maintain India's urge in space infrastructure, space transportation applications, capacity building, and human space flight. So this is particularly with respect to Gaganyaan mission of India. So the Gaganyaan is a crewed mission where ISRO will send three astronauts into the low Earth orbit. Okay, so this mission will be taken up in the year 2024. So along with these roles and responsibilities, ISRO will also share technologies, products, processes, and best practices with non-governmental entrepreneurs or entities. See, so far we understood that there is a very minimal presence of private sector in Indian space arena. So therefore, as of now, ISRO has developed several technologies, products, processes, and ISRO also has certain best practices. So these practices will be shared by ISRO with other non-governmental entities and private entities also. Okay, so when ISRO is ready to share such technologies, then there will be a flourishing private sector. They will also develop or adopt such technologies, further conduct research on such technologies to improve, innovate on such technologies. Okay, so along with the above roles and responsibilities, ISRO will also make the transition out from the existing practice of being presence in manufacturing of operational space systems. ISRO will make a transition out of the operational space systems. For example, launching satellites, okay, launching satellites, building satellite launch vehicles. So ISRO will make transition out of these operational space systems. Earlier we have discussed ISRO will focus more on interplanetary missions, manned space flights, and missions like Gaganyaan, Shukrayan, Aditya. So such missions ISRO will focus more on. Okay, so this is the second entity created as part of the National Space Policy. And the third entity is New Space India Limited. So if you regularly follow current affairs, you may have heard about Anthrax, okay, Anthrax Corporation, and you also heard about New Space India Limited and Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center as well, because these agencies were created 3 4 years back. However, Anthrax is traditionally known as the commercial arm of ISRO. This is commercial arm of ISRO. However, what are the roles and responsibilities of New Space India Limited? Because New Space India Limited has already executed several commercial space launches. Commercial space launches means uh, a, a private company, a private company can order, a private company satellites being launched by ISRO through New Space India Limited. So therefore, it already executed a few commercial space launches, and we have to understand that the New Space India Limited is a replacement to Anthrics. Anthrics was erstwhile commercial wing of ISRO, and New Space India Limited replaced Anthrics Corporation. Okay, so what is the role and responsibilities of New Space India Limited? Is it is responsible for commercializing space technologies. Whatever space technologies that are being developed by ISRO will be commercialized by New Space India Limited. So in this context, you have to understand the difference between New Space India Limited and also Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, right? So that provides standards, regulations, guidelines, and that work with the academia. On the other hand, New Space India Limited commercialize the space technologies which are already developed by ISRO. Okay, uh, along with that, manufacturing, lease, procurement of space components, technologies, platforms, and other assets from private or public sector. So it will undertake all these activities or all these functions. So these are the roles and responsibilities of New Space India Limited. So the last agency which is created as part of the new space policy 2023 is Department of Space. Department of Space also has a huge role in overall defense ecosystem when it comes to India, right? So now try and understand what is the roles and responsibilities of Department of Space. It provides overall policy guidelines. So it will also coordinate on international cooperation and global space governance and related programs in consultation with Ministry of External Affairs. So these are the roles and responsibilities of Department of Space. Okay, so apart from that, now try and understand how the private sector participation in the overall space program will be a game changer, how it will give a sustained push to the private sector. However, this has been highlighted, the private sector participation has been highlighted as one of the main draws of new policy. New policy has envisioned a larger private sector participation. However, as of now, it is only limited to the Indian companies. So far, there is no clarity whether the foreign entities will be part of the overall private sector participation in Indian space agencies or not. It is not yet clear, because the government has not yet decided whether the foreign direct investment via automatic route is allowed into the space sector or not. Government had to take a decision on this. Okay. However, what are the benefits or the advantages of new space policy? There are some advantages or benefits of the new space policy. They include a clear demarcation of roles among various entities. We have discussed several entities, right, from Department of Space, New Space India Limited, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, and ISRO. So there is a clear demarcation of roles. Because of the clear demarcation of roles among various entities, shows that the seeds of the it sows the seeds of burgeoning or rapidly developing private sector space industry in India. Because earlier the telecom sector was also monopolized by government agencies. When the government promoted the participation of private telecom entities also, then that led to a significant change in the overall service delivery of telecom agencies. In the same way how telecom sector has developed, the space sector will also develop over a period of time because of the private sector participation, and the space policy rightly facilitated the same. Okay. However, along with that, space sector too was envisioned to follow a similar trajectory like a telecom sector growth and development. The Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center will play a role of growing private sector. So, in order to facilitate the private sector participation in the Indian space activity, Indian National Center for Space Promotion and Authorization Center will play a key or leading role. So this is all about the new space policy 2023. Okay, so you understood all the entities which are created as part of the policy and how this policy will facilitate the private sector participation and how this policy has a larger vision of attracting the private investment into the space sector. Okay, so this is all about this article. Next, move into the next important news article. So the next important, a very important news article is about India France ties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit France in this year July. Okay, in this year July. So therefore, what are the key areas of focus in this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been discussed in this article. This is particularly uh, the focus of the visit mostly on trade defense climate change and energy systems. So they mostly focus on these aspects along with the ongoing Ukraine crisis. So, along with the above discussed issues, both these leaders will also discuss the ongoing Ukraine crisis. Okay, ongoing Ukraine crisis and Indo-Pacific, because both these countries have been enjoying a convergence of interest in the Indo-Pacific region, and Chinese aggressiveness or assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific region, and India's role in compelling Russia to settle the Ukraine crisis will be discussed as part of this summit. Okay, so we also know that this year India assumes the G20 presidency. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France President Emmanuel Macron will also visit India. Okay, so in this context, let's try and understand overall relationship between France and India. What are the major areas of cooperation between these two countries? Because France is a strategic partner for India and also a major defense partner for India. So therefore, in this context, it is very important to understand the bilateral relationship between both France and India. So it is around 25 years both India and France have signed a strategic partnership, right? So this strategic partnership was signed in the year 1998. However, it is often held that it is a time tested strategic partnership between these two countries because these two countries have shared values and aspirations for the peace within the region and beyond the region. So, most importantly, they desire for strategic autonomy, right? Strategic autonomy. India also follows the policy of strategic autonomy. India's foreign policy is primarily guided by its national interests. So, however, along with these, there are no real substantive disagreements between these two nations. There are no disagreements between these two nations over a wide variety of aspects, right, from Indo-Pacific up to trade. Okay, what is the significance of France and India ties? What is the significance of France and India ties? France has emerged as a key trading partner for India with an annual trade of 12.42 billion in the financial year 21-22. Okay, France is a key trading partner for India. Second point is second largest defense supplier for India in the year 2017 and 21. The first defense supplier for India is Russia. After Russia, France emerged as the second largest defense supplier for India because in recent times France has emerged as a key defense partner for India, becoming the second largest defense supplier. So France has emerged a major strategic partner for India with crucial defense deals and increased military engagement, right? Military to military engagement like uh, conducting naval exercises, military exercises, interoperability among the forces of these two countries. So along with that, they also conduct regular joint exercises. Some of the joint exercises are Varuna Navy, navies of both these countries, Garuda air forces of both these countries, and Shakti are some of the exercises which both these countries conduct together. Along with that, a joint strategic vision for India and France cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. Both India and France have same vision, same interest in the Indo-Pacific region. So therefore, they have a joint strategic vision of Indo-France cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. So along with the above mentioned aspects of France-India relationship, there is a common vision for open Indo-Pacific maritime security, right? So this has further gained momentum as both countries have articulated their common vision for free, fair, open Indo-Pacific, right? So these two countries want a free, fair, open Indo-Pacific uh, in Indo-Pacific. So along with that, both these countries also sought to provide a comprehensive solutions for maritime security. Maritime piracy is a major problem, right? A major problem. Along with that, illegal, unregulated fishing. Okay, so both these countries also sought solutions for maritime security, regional cooperation, and climate change adaptation. Right? Climate change is also very concern, very important for these two countries. So, what are the common concerns over Chinese? Right. Along with that, they also have a common concerns over Chinese aggressive behavior. Both countries share concerns over the rise of China and its aggressive stance, its aggressive behavior in the region, right? Especially the Indian Ocean region. So both, and they also committed to work together to ensure that there is no imbalance in the Indo-Pacific region. Both these countries are decided to work together that there is no imbalance in the Indo-Pacific region. So along with that, there is a huge nuclear cooperation between these two countries because France was the first among the countries that that signed a civil nuclear cooperation deal with India, right? So Paris also played a very critical role in limiting India's isolation. When India conducted nuclear tests in 1998, several countries have called for isolation of India, right? Isolation of India. However, France is the country which come forward and that also played a critical role in limiting India's isolation in the non-proliferation order, especially after 1998 nuclear tests. France also supports India's bid for UNSC permanent membership, along with that, the NSG Nuclear Suppliers Group permanent membership. So, therefore, there are several common interests and shared values between these two countries, and they are enjoying the time tested strategic partnership. So, there are many points of convergence between these two countries within the Indo Pacific region and beyond. So as of now, France has emerged as the second largest defense supplier for India. So please make note of all these points because these points will, this article is particularly important for GS2, okay, General Studies Paper 2. So therefore, if you are able to remember these points, you can present the answer in a better way. And the next very important news article, this article is also very important for mains examination point of view, right? So to cut at root of narcotics, center plans drive against poppy and cannabis. Okay, so center plans a comprehensive drive against poppy and cannabis. So these poppy and cannabis are drugs. Okay, so India is a country which has been suffering with the drug peddling, drug trafficking, and majority of youth are also impacted by the drug trafficking in India, right? So if you look at the location of India, India is located between the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle. Okay, so these are the areas where the majority of the drugs cultivated and illegally transported into India, not just India but other countries also. So along with the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle within India also there is a cultivation of poppy and cannabis in several states. For example, Manipur. Manipur, not just Manipur, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. So in these states, there has been an illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis that further fueling the drug trafficking and drug peddling. So therefore, the government has also set up a target of making India drug free by the year 2047. In order to achieve the target, the government has gone for a number of measures to prevent the illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis. In cooperation and collaboration with the respective state governments, the the governments have been destroying the illegally cultivated poppy and cannabis crops. So, in this context, we try and understand this article in a much more comprehensive way, right? So, the government has intensified its crackdown on drugs, cultivation of poppy and cannabis in the size of 89,000 football ground that was destroyed in since last 3 years. Okay, since last 3 years, around 89,000 football grounds of cannabis and poppy cultivation has been destroyed by the government. So we already discussed that India has a target of making India drug free by the year 2047, right? So therefore, the Union Home Ministry link recovery, usage of narcotics and banned substances in particular area to the annual appraisal report of District Superintendent of Police, right? For a Superintendent of Police or any other higher official, there is an annual appraisal report. Okay, so these annual appraisal reports have all the uh, merits and demerits of an officer. Okay, so if a particular area where the district superintendent of police is serving has been affected with drugs, then if he does not take any measures, then that will be added to his annual appraisal report. So therefore, this is a plan, a larger plan of Union Home Ministry to link recovery and use of narcotics to annual appraisal report of district superintendent of police. Okay, so this will fix the accountability and responsibility of those officers so that they can act strictly against the cultivation of poppy and cannabis. Also understand there is an according to the Narcotics Control Bureau data in the past 3 years, 35,592 acres of poppy cultivation and 82,691 acres of cannabis has been destroyed across the country. Okay, so Narcotics Control Bureau department is the nodal department to deal with the problem of drugs in India. So in this context, let's look at the small case study of Manipur, where around 4,305 acres of poppy cultivation has been destroyed. Okay, since March 20, 2022 to April 20, around this much of poppy cultivation has been destroyed. However, it is said that Manipur seen the highest ever destruction of such crops in the last 3 years. State also launched the alternative livelihood schemes for those farmers who are cultivating poppy and cannabis illegally. Right? The alternative livelihood scheme includes giving hybrid vegetable seeds, saplings of pineapple, spices including ginger, turmeric, etc. So seeds will be given to the farmers free of cost. So along with that, farmers in Peh village in Ukhrul district were given cash reward of 10 lakh for voluntarily destroying the poppy and cannabis. Farmers have voluntarily destroyed the poppy and cannabis, so that the government has also provided 10 lakh of assistance to farmers. Now, as part of preventing the cultivation of cannabis and poppy, the Union Ministry also planning to use drones. Okay, the ministry has constituted a subgroup to analyze the use of drones. Okay, so in the destruction of illegal crops in remote areas. If you understand carefully, the poppy and cannabis are mostly cultivated in remote rural areas. Okay, remote rural areas. So therefore, drones will be effectively used to find out the illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis. National Narcotics Control Bureau also shares satellite images with the affected states so that the states could take effective measures against the illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis. So, in the drug arena, there is an act to prevent the cultivation or trafficking of drugs. The legislation is Prevention of Illegal Traffic in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1988. So this act was passed in the year 1988. So this act includes provision to detain an individual up to 2 years. Okay, so as per this legislation, an individual can be detained up to 2 years without any intervention from the court. Okay, so along with that, the order can be passed by the central governments or the respective state governments to any officer or central government, but it should not be below the rank of joint secretary. Okay, so the order to detain a particular individual can be passed by both center and state governments and an officer of the central government, but he should not be below the rank of joint secretary. So there will be no court intervention once a person is detained under the above mentioned act, Prevention of Illicit Traffic in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1988. So along with that, uh, the people who are engaged in illegal trade and trafficking of narcotics, they are also using darknet and cryptocurrency for purchasing drugs or drug trafficking or drug peddling. Okay, so Narcotics Control Bureau said that use of darknet and cryptocurrency in illegal drugs is increasing. In 2020, 21, 22, the agency has investigated 59 of such cases. So far, the agency has investigated 59 of such cases. A subgroup on counterterrorism portal. This was like a multi-agency center. So this multi-agency center has also been created to share inputs on the use of darknet and cryptocurrency for trade in narcotics. Okay, a multi-agency center has created to share inputs on the use of darknet and cryptocurrency. So along with that, there is a dedicated anti-narcotics task force in each state. So these dedicated anti-narcotics task force will investigate the narcotic related cases and also make sure that poppy and cannabis are not cultivated illegally in any part of the state. Even if such crops are found, they will destroy these crops. Okay, so along with that, the properties of those individuals who are involved in illegal trade of or illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis, their properties will be frozen. So according to a data in the year 2022, Narcotics Control Bureau conducted a financial investigation into 33 of such cases. So around 17 crore was frozen by the Narcotics Control Bureau, particularly for those individuals who are involved in this narcotics trade. Okay, so far 6.7 lakh kilograms of drugs have been burnt by the government agencies. So 6.7 lakh kilograms of drugs have been burnt by the government agencies. So once the government take over the illegally transporting, illegally cultivating drugs, they just burn the drugs. Okay, so that the drugs will not be reach to other individuals through corruption. So apart from this, each recovery, seizure, arrest is plotted on an interactive map. Okay, so everything is online or that is properly planned and mapped so that there will be no leakages. And also all these placed under the centralized portal that is run by Narcotics Control Bureau, that is the Central Narcotic Agency. There is a separate database called Nidan, so please also remember this database named Nidan. Okay, so what this Nidan has to this has photographs, fingerprints, court orders, information and details of all suspects and convicts who are arrested as part of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act, so that it can be accessed by the states or central law enforcement agencies. That will help them investigate the cases related to the drug trafficking and also illegal cultivation of poppy and cannabis. Okay, so this article is also very important for the paper 3, GS paper 3, internal security, right? So therefore please also make note of these points which mentioned. So the next very important news article is Reviving the Dead River, a cultural event to celebrate legacy of Yamuna. Right. So we all know that the waste, the urban sewerage waste and solid waste being indiscriminately released into several rivers, and Yamuna River is one such river. It is heavily affected by the pollution. In fact, the Central Pollution Control Board in the year 2015 also said that Yamuna River became a dead river, right? So Yamuna River became a dead river, so that it no longer support any ecosystem services in this river, and the oxygen availability in this river is also zero. So since these rivers are heavily polluted, the National Pollution Control Board has already said that this is a dead river. However, there is an effort from the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, to revive the cultural significance of Yamuna River. Okay, so as part of the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, there are several activities which are planned, and that will help revive the rejuvenate river Yamuna. So before actually discussing this article, first understand the Yamuna River and its tributaries. Here, the origin of Yamuna River at Yamunotri. Okay, so at Yamunotri, Yamuna River originates. So these are the tributaries of Yamuna River. They are Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Dasan, and Ken. Okay, please remember the tributaries of Yamuna River. Yamuna River is will meet with the Ganga River at Allahabad. Okay, so Yamuna River will meet with Ganga River at Allahabad. Now understand that in the coming September, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts will host a cultural program. Okay, so on the banks of River Delhi, on the banks of River Yamuna in Delhi, they will host a cultural program. The name of the program is Riverine Clusters of India. Okay, the name of the program is Riverine Clusters of India. Actually, this program was started in the year 2018. If you look at the Yamuna River environmentalists consider it is an ecologically dead in Delhi, because uh, now uh, it will focus on cultural push to renew India's civilizational and socio-religious connect with its water bodies. So the objective of the program is to renew India's civilizational and socio-religious connect with its water bodies. So along with that, the program will include photo exhibition comparing the Yamuna of today with that of a river uh, 50 years ago. Along with that, a symposium on various aspects such as ecology, conservation of India's rivers, and their importance in the country's heritage. So all these activities are largely part of the riverine clusters of India project. Okay, so the riverine clusters of India will cover these rivers. Six rivers will be covered under riverine clusters of India. So those rivers are Ganga, Yamuna, Sindhu in the north, Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri in the south. Okay, all these rivers will be covered under the project. So what are the objectives of the project? The project or the program have a set of objectives. It envisages festivals celebrating rivers in different cities. So, in traditionally in India, rivers are also part of festivals. Okay, so this envisages festivals celebrating rivers in different cities. A study on these rivers in their contemporary context. What is the significance or the relevance of these rivers in the contemporary context? So, along with that, the program also envisages conducting workshops along the banks or across the banks involving different stakeholders, right, from environmentalists, cultural historians, anthropologists, and folklorists. Okay, so different stakeholders will be involved as part of this project, and it also hoped to develop a major study on riverine cultures. For example, there is a mythical river called Saraswati. So, in order to understand its importance of evolution of human culture, how rivers helped in evolution of human culture will be also studied and understood through these projects or the programs. Okay, so we already know what is the Triveni Sangamam. Triveni Sangamam is Yamuna's confluence with the Ganga at Allahabad, not just Yamuna, but Yamuna, Ganga, and mythical Saraswati river. So all these rivers met at Allahabad, and that is effectively called as Triveni Sangamam. This is at Prayagraj, and because since it is Triveni Sangamam, it is most important pilgrimage spot for Hindus. However, we already discussed that Central Pollution Control Board in the year 2015 declared Yamuna River almost dead. Okay, so it is almost dead. The reason for this is untreated waste flowing indiscriminately into the river from several cities. Okay, so what is the definition of river? Understand the definition of river also. It must have life. Okay, it should have a life, freshwater life within rivers, which is measured by the capacity of dissolved oxygen. The dissolved oxygen content in the Yamuna while it passes through Delhi is zero. Okay, so you may know that you should know that the biological oxygen demand in the rivers. The biological oxygen demand is also used to measure the levels of pollution or the purity of a river. Okay, so in this context, if there is a high biological oxygen demand, there is a heavy pollution. Okay, high biological oxygen demand, heavy pollution. If there is a low biological oxygen demand, the water is not polluted. Okay, so because UPSC also asked this question about the biological oxygen demand, so therefore remember this. So the other important aspect, the other important news which is given in the, today's the Hindu newspaper is the night of Bhutakola. See, after a recent movie which Kantara popularized the Bhutakola, there is a probability this is since this is part of India's culture, there is a probability that UPSC may ask a question on Bhutakola and its difference with the traditional Theyyam dance, which traditionally takes place in Kerala. First, understand what is Bhutakola, right? So, Bhutakola is an oracle. People generally believe that Bhutakola prayers to Bhutakola bring them fortune and relieve them of their problems. Okay, so this is the kind of a traditional attire they wear, the ornamentation. There's no rich ornamentation, but people traditionally believe that if they pray to Bhutakola, then the fortune and relief, I mean, it brings fortune and relieve them from their respective problems. Okay, the trained Bhutakola performer in a possessed state provide answers to community. Uh, the community people ask questions to the Bhutakola. So the Bhutakola will answer those questions generally, and it is a revered as the manifestation of God himself, generally considered as a god speaking to the people. Generally people consider it as like a god, and along with that a ritual performance that starts in the night and goes on all the way till the morning. Okay, till the morning hours, and it is traditionally performed open air. So there is no special theater like thing or an auditorium. It is generally uh, performed in an open air, and Bhutakola comes in the forms of Panjurli and Kaluruti, Koragaja, and so on. There are different forms of Bhutakola. So all these forms have been discussed. However, originally Bhutakola is from Dakshin Kannada, right? So Kannada is a language which is generally spoken in the state of Karnataka, right? There is also a Dakshina Kannada region within Karnataka. So this Bhutakola is originally from Dakshin Kannada and Udupi districts of Karnataka. Okay, Udupi and Dakshin Kannada. Sorry. And Bhutakola has a striking similarities with Kerala's Deyyam. Okay, Kerala's Deyyam. So in the next slide, we will try and understand Theyyam also. But Bhutakola has a striking similarities with Theyyam. And along with the striking similarities, there are also several differences also between the Theyyam and Bhutakola. So what are the differences? The costumes of Bhutakola are not as strikingly colorful, not very strikingly colorful in the case of Bhutakola. Okay, so just look at how Theyyam in Kerala looks. This is more colorful. But on the other hand, uh, Bhutakola is not strikingly colorful. Okay. So along with that, this is one major difference between Teyyam and Bothakola. Along with that, the Bothakola performer is a bed, so bedcade in attire. Okay, bedcade in an attire entirely made of intricately woven palm leaves. Okay, so intricately woven palm leaves. He'll be in the intricately woven palm leaves, and there is an elaborate face painting. See, you can see here, there is an elaborate face painting in the both Kola performer. However, similar to Deyam, the incarnation the performer utters in Tulu language. So they generally speak a Tulu language while performing. Okay, so Tulu language is also a major language which is spoken by the people in Dakshin Kannada. And the Kola, as the performer is called as Kola. The performer is called as Kola. Usually involves a face dance, right? An aggressive dance moves will be performed by Kola, and they are generally accompanied by drums, music, and other rituals. Okay, while he is performing a fierce dance, that will be accompanied by drums, music, and other rituals. Even for the ardent followers of Theyyam, like the followers, whoever the follows Theyyam or a community which belong to these performance, they even not known about Theyyam and Theyyam and Bhutakola until the movie Kantara popularized them. Okay, so since Kantara has popularized the Bhutakola, several people from other regions are also coming to see the performance of Bhutakola. Okay, to witness Bhutakola, people from other regions are also visiting this place. However, Tuluwas, the people who speak Tuluwa language. So those people who speak Tulu language are called as Tuluwas, and they believe in animism, right? So a soul in plants or animals. Okay, they believe in animism, and Bhutakola is performed to invoke the spirits of nature. So it is generally performed to invoke the spirits of nature. However, the traditional right to perform the kola, only those people from Nalike and Parava communities or Nalike and Parava tribes, only those tribes can perform the Bhotakola. Only they have the right to wear this attire and perform the Bhotakola. A typical Bhutkola season generally starts in January and it extends up to May. Okay, so now I think this is the Bhutkola season. Now let's try and understand the Teyyam also. We have discussed Bhutkola and Teyyam also. Teyyam is also a dance which is similar to Bhutkola, but Teyyam is performed in Kerala. So you can see the attire of performers who perform Teyyam dance. Let's try and understand. Teyyam is a popular ritual from dance, a ritual form of dance worship in Kerala, Karnataka, and India. So this is mostly popular in both the Kerala and Karnataka states, right? So it generally consists of thousand-year-old traditions, rituals, customs in these states. People who consider Theyyam itself as a channel to a god and they thus seek blessing from Theyyam. Okay. So generally people consider they are the form of god. So therefore people generally seek blessing from Theyyam. So each Theyyam is either a man or a woman who have attained the divine status by performing heroic deeds or leading a virtuous life. So earlier they have performed a heroic deed or lived a virtuous life. They are either man or woman. However, Theyyams are generally believed that they are incarnations of Shiva or Shakti, the consort of Shiva. Okay, so they have a strong associations with these principal deities. I mean, Theyyam is a strong association with Hinduism. However, it is said that there are around 400 Theyyams. Some of these are very important. Okay, so this is all about Theyyam performance, and you can also look at the attire of Theyyam. So the next very important articles is Hakki Pikki tribe. Okay, so this tribe can also be asked by the UPSC. Please remember this tribe. We all know that there has been a crisis has been going on in Sudan where the armed military and the paramilitary have been fighting against each other for power in Sudan. So that led to the killing of several people and leaving several people uh, injured. Okay, so therefore, the Hakki Pikki tribe generally belong to Karnataka of India, the Karnataka state. Okay, so Mysore region, the Karnataka Mysore region. So they are traditionally the bird catchers. Okay, they are traditionally known as bird catchers. So, however, even though they are bird catchers, they have migrated to Sudan. Okay, so they migrated to Sudan. They settled in Khartoum, the capital city of Khartoum, the capital city of Sudan. Okay, so they are residing in Sudan, Khartoum. However, they are settled in Sudan as a herbal healers because they have a traditional knowledge of using plants to treat various diseases. Plants to treat various diseases. They are settled in Sudan as herbal healers, and they are also uh, getting money, reputation as herbal healers in Sudan. So, therefore, the government has recently made efforts to bring them back to India because of the crisis in Sudan. So, this has been discussed. Okay, so please remember the Haki Piki tribe. Okay, Haki Piki tribe. They are generally the bird catching community, and now they are settled in Sudan as the herbal healers. Okay, so they are bringing back to India because of the civil war. They fought in civil war in Sudan. Okay, so these are all the important and relevant articles given in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so just remember these articles. Thank you.